Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I think we probably should do a roll call first. Just confirm who we have with us. And I'm learning the FOIA routine. If you're speaking from your office, we need your office street address. And if you are from some other location, we just need the locality. Is that a good summary, Chris?
Yes, city or county, if it's not a business.
Okay. Excellent. All right. I'm just going to go through the Excel spreadsheet in front of me then. Do we have David Weber?
Hello, David Weber. David Weber here. I am sitting in my home in Worcester County, Maryland.
Thank you, David. Okay. Solomon Ashby.
Solomon Ashby, live William and Mary Law School.
Excellent. And we also know at William and Mary we have Lola Perkins, Patrick Murphy, and Jennifer Franklin, unless they have fled the room.
We're all here.
We're all here.
Excellent. Judge Ortiz, may still be on Interstate 81. Is that accurate?
No, I have moved on to 66. I am in Fauquier County.
Good. I hope the traffic's a little bit better.
It's fine. I should be able to get home and be on the camera soon enough.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. Do we have Sandra Gilstrap?
I'm here, David, and I'm at 171 Piney Forest Road, Danville, Virginia.
Thank you. Bruce Russell.
Here, and I am at my office in Lebanon on 29, 29 East Main Street, Lebanon, Virginia, 24266.
Excellent. Katie Gallagher.
Katie is not here. She had indicated that her service, wherever she is today, is spotty and that she will not be able to log in today. She had sent me a message just before, just before everybody else logged in, right after I had logged in.
Okay. Thank you, Bruce. I know I've seen Jerry Kilgore's face. Jerry, where are you?
In Rocco County, Virginia, at my house.
Great. Thank you. Henry Sue is with us. Henry, where are you?
I'm at 450 Fifth Street Northwest in Washington, D.C.
Excellent. And I think I'm the only remaining member, and I am in Lynchburg, Virginia. Thank you so much, everybody. Should we do introductions, or do people remember who each other are by this point? Any requests?
Let's roll it.
Okay.
We do have one meeting guest. And then I believe Mike York, the current VSB president, may be joining us as well. So we'll anticipate seeing him pop in.
So do we have Mike on the line right now?
Not
He
yet.
is not on yet. We have a public participant, Dane Lindsay, is on as a guest.
Great, thank you. Welcome back, Dane. Okay, our agenda for today includes a quick review of our mission statements, review and approval of the research matrices that we have collected in the last two subcommittee meetings in the last 2 days, and discussion over the survey that we're working on several surveys actually. None of them are available for review yet today. Review of our proposed field hearing schedule on locations, and we listed talking about a December meeting date. And is that not selected already, Chris or Christy?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Okay. Let us get started then.
David,
Yes. Go ahead.
two sort of housekeeping items. One is just letting everyone know that we do have a general inbox now for this committee's work that I encourage you all to share with people that may be interested in this topic. It's where we'll be compiling, comments, questions, feedback from members, from the public, and it is EGAD-VA@VSB.org. I'll put that in the chat.
Right. Okay. And when someone sends an email to that address, who receives and reads it?
Christy and I both have access.
Right. Okay.
Chris, this is Patrick. Will that email address be put on our committee page on the website?
It will be. I'm glad you said that because we're also working on creating a folder or a link there that will allow anyone who's interested to see the documents that have been approved by the committee and all of the meeting materials all in one location.
Thank you.
I thought of an agenda item that we left out, which is we have a two proposed logos to discuss. Would like to adopt one and make use of it on our materials. So I've just added that to the agenda. And we've mailed those logos out, haven't we, Chris?
They're on the SharePoint drive.
Yes, but I can pull them up if that would be helpful.
Okay, I'd like to say that to the end of the agenda.
Okay, perfect.
Have something maybe fun to finish up on.
All right.
Okay.
And that is on the agenda as line item 6, David.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed it. Okay, thank you.
That's okay.
I've got so many things open, I have to search for them. Hang on, there we go. Okay, a reminder of our mission statements, and we are gathered to examine and raise awareness of the declining number of lawyers practicing in Virginia, resulting impacts on the population and economy of the Commonwealth, particularly in geographic areas that may be described as legal deserts, and to make recommendations to address those trends, mitigate adverse impacts, and improve access to legal services, the legal profession, and the justice system for all Virginians. So there's a lot depending on us, I think. All right. Let us turn next then to the research matrix, Chris, that we've been working on. Could you present that for us and identify the areas that have been in which volunteers have volunteered?
So that should be up on the screen now. I'm just going to blow it up a little bit. And I'm happy to say that all of our main tasks have been assigned to one or more subcommittee members, and many of the tasks are going to be shared between the two subcommittees, which is great. So the first item is the survey exploration. And as David alluded to, we have multiple survey segments. So I just was going to share with you all kind of the plan for the different segments that I've outlined with the market research professional that I've been working with. One is a survey that will be available to all Virginia attorneys. We will not be doing a blast email linking the survey to the full VSB membership, but we will include a link to this survey in the e-news that goes out. Once it's finished, it can go in basically every single e-news blast that we send out on a monthly basis. We have questions that relate to the legal deserts issue and relate to the overall, diminishing Virginia lawyer population. This is just a very rough outline that I've been mapping out of information that we'd want to gather from each group. The other group that was just added in the meeting that we just had directly prior to this is Circuit 33 attorneys. And there were some ideas shared about what we could possibly gather from them. Law students is a very critical outreach group or segment. And then recent law school graduates, such as the Young Lawyers Conference members, and that's anyone who's been in practice or has been an active member of the bar for 5 or fewer years. And then attorneys who I believe are 36 and younger. Specific survey will be developed for attorneys who are in the lagging circuits that the bar has already identified, so that we can gather information about the barriers that they are experiencing there, and also get input on things, demographic information that we don't already have through our member records. For example, what do they do? So we might find that there's a lagging circuit that, according to the queries in our member records, have 8 attorneys within that lagging circuit. But we don't know from our member records whether they are public defenders, prosecutors, private attorneys that are available to serve the needs of the general public, if they're private criminal defense attorneys doing civil litigation. We really know very little about them. And I think that that information is critically important to analyzing the extent of the legal desert problem, because 8 attorneys on paper is very different than 2 attorneys that are actually available to serve the needs of the general public, versus working for the local government or something like that. David Newmeyer in our legal desert subcommittee meeting yesterday had mentioned that he wanted clerks and judges to be able to participate in the survey as well. And I think that I took that to heart, and I really believe that developing a specific survey for them will be critically important. So this is an outline of the information I'm thinking we could gather related to that segment. And then finally, consumers of legal services. So this is all work that I'm going to be doing in conjunction with the 2 committee members who have signed up for this. And that is, I believe, David Weber and Solomon Ashby. But a lot of work will happen behind the scenes with the market research professional. And we'll basically get draft surveys to those 2 committee members to review. They'll add their input, we'll update, and then we'll circulate the draft survey language to the full committee, so that you all can provide your individual comments if there's something that we've missed or that needs to be tweaked. And then finally, there will be more of an open-ended form that we'll be using, that anyone who cares to fill out can provide more narrative information about their experiences and stories. And that's basically going to be a speaker form. And that's what we'll be using to determine if there are individuals that we need to specifically invite to make comments at the anticipated field hearings. So questions about that?
It's David Weber. I'm one of the people who will be involved, but I just wanted to remind everybody also that, again, very unique for some of the smaller counties, including on the Eastern Shore, that playing into the reality of who practices what is that there are a number of part-time assistant Commonwealth attorneys, including myself, and that is allowed under Virginia law so long as the county has under a certain population, both of which the Eastern Shore counties have. So in my case, I think you guys all know this, but I work on elder financial exploitation matters as part of my faculty duties. I'm uncompensated as an ACA, but that's an example of, I mean, I can't even take the phone call, and we literally are the only lawyers on the northern half of one of the two counties, and everybody in my firm, you know, which is my wife and a couple of part-time people, is recused because obviously the conflict is imputed across the firm. So I just wanted to share that we may not even be thinking as granularly as we need to, because on the Eastern Shore, a lot of people are part-time ACAs as well.
Good. So we need to work in a question to flush that out, I guess.
Yeah, I will make note of that. And I'll make sure that the practice options that are listed are, you know, you can select more than one.
Exactly. I mean, I think that's exactly what needs to happen. So we've got one guy in the county who's doing all the JDR work, and he's a private lawyer, and so he's completely imputed and conflicted out, and I'm doing all the elder stuff and et cetera, et cetera.
Very good. Very
And
helpful.
you also kind of, this is Patrick, on that same vein, for some smaller localities, you might have some kind of hybrid people that are doing, like, I can think of one example where there's a private practitioner in Newport News, but he's also the city attorney for Pocosin. And so you might have some of that hybridness built in on that scope too. And some of the smaller localities are like that as well.
Good comments. Thank you. Let me ask committee members, is there any area of research that we're not thinking about, anything that we've left out? I think there's a great deal of data out there, both in what the bar possesses, what other bars possess, research that's been done in the academic sector. There's been a lot done in other states on legal deserts. So we want to collect all of everything, I think, and be able to see how it influences what we want to do. And if there are not any obvious omissions right now, if any come up as we work, please do make them known.
Yes, and if there are members who have not signed up for a main research task, I would ask that maybe you reach out to someone who's assigned to one of the more robust main research tasks and maybe volunteer to help with one of the subtasks. In that same vein, I would encourage anyone who has signed up for a main task that needs help to maybe start with committee members who aren't signed up for anything right now.
And Chris, this is Lola. Do we have a list of who's been assigned to what?
I will circulate that. Yes, it's actually on this spreadsheet, but you can't see it because we're zoomed in. But yeah, I'm tracking that over here.
Okay, got it.
The other thing that I will note is that I have broken the matrix up so that each main task appears on its own tab, which makes it a little bit easier for those of you assigned to a main task to add subtasks as you identify them and find that if I've missed something, you can easily add it in and make sure that it gets covered in the work that you're doing. So I'll circulate all of that in the next couple of days once I make the final edits after this meeting.
And a reminder as well, as we go about this research, when we encounter people who would be good speakers that the entire committee should hear or one of the subcommittees should hear, I think we should be generous in inviting those speakers so we can gather that information and be able to ask questions from those sources as well. So keep your thoughts open for what speakers we might want to hear from. Our parallel committee of the Access to Justice Commission, I call them parallel because they're going to be doing field hearings this year on access to justice issues. They are working on a couple speakers already, and I want to make those occasions available to members of this committee as well, so that we can hear what they're hearing alongside. But it's basically the Access Commission's meeting that we're observing in those. Okay, thank you very much. Are there any other additions, changes for the research matrix? If not, I would like to consider this approved by the committee for the time being. Is there any objection?
David, there's a hand up.
Yeah, it looks like our guest is volunteering to serve, I think. No, I'm just kidding. But our guest has his hand raised.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Sandra. I can't see very well since I'm sharing my screen.
Okay, good. Who is it that has their hand up? Oh, it is Dane Lindsay, our guest. Dane, are you volunteering to serve on a committee or research? Okay. Not hearing anything from Dane. Oh, I probably muted him earlier because that's where some of our background noise was coming from. And
yeah, Dane is muted.
Okay. Christy, I don't see how I can.
He has to unmute himself.
Okay. Dane, you're muted then. Okay. Well, feel free to contact us afterwards, Dane, if you want to tell us about your background and why you'd like to serve in one of these functions. That'd be great to hear from you. Okay.
David, did you want to give the committee an update about what we emailed about earlier today related to the, while we're on the research matrix, related to the legal desert maps?
Chris, would you go ahead and do that?
Yeah, sure. So when we had the subcommittee of the OASIS subcommittee meeting, we talked about the importance of these legal desert maps that kind of overlay more than just how many attorneys within particular geographic areas. They look at things like what is the broadband access in that area, and how far away are the courts, and what is the income level of the residents. They're looking at the U.S. Census Bureau data, other data sources to look at things that impact access to justice, access to attorneys, access to legal services and information beyond what maybe we have at our fingertips. These endeavors to develop these maps are not free. There are groups that do this work and do it well, like the National Center for State Courts. So our ability to develop one for Virginia is pretty closely tied to our ability to get funds to pay for the cost. And our executive director has said that he thinks it's important that we do so, and that rather than waiting for it to be a recommendation that we develop one that comes out of the committee's report, that we just go ahead and do it for inclusion in the report. So David Newmeyer has taken on this particular task and is going to start outreach to the National Center for State Courts and others to find out how much it's going to cost, which will then inform where we go for the funding, whether it comes from the state bar's budget or some external source, in which case we'd have to do a solicitation request to the governor. And we'd be able to do that in September. So that's really great news that that's being prioritized. And I do think that it's going to greatly improve the report that comes out of this group.
Good. Thank you very much, Chris. Okay. I did not hear any objection to subcommittee approval of the research matrix as it exists right now. Obviously, it's a plan which can be changed as it goes along. But if there's no objection, I'd like to consider it as approved by the committee for the time being.
Hey, David.
Yeah.
So the gentleman Dane is writing in. I'm not sure who all can see his chat, but he noted that he thought that one issue not addressed in the matrix was economic data, e.g., let's see, when I try, oh, he's still trying to unmute. Economic data, e.g. BLS stats. But I know we addressed that that's the mission of our whole committee. That's one part of one facet of it is the economic impact on the decline in attorneys in the state. But at any rate, I just thought I would share. I'm not sure who can see his question or not. And I don't know how much the public is even supposed to be able to participate, to be honest. This is all new to me.
Okay. This is a public meeting, and I'm glad that we're able to accept comments if they're helpful. And Dane, if you can hear me, I think that's a valuable reminder that economic data is part of what we're looking at, and particularly in the legal desert maps, that may be one of the overlays that we can have to be included in terms of income levels. So if you have other thoughts, I hope to communicate with you after the meeting. So
we can think about asking about fees, you know, in the attorney survey, like what are their hourly fees, and do they do any you know, flat fee work, that kind of thing, unbundling of legal services.
Good. Thank you. Our next agenda item then is discussion of what we're doing around surveys. And we do not have a survey for you to look at because we actually have several now in development. And Chris, could you summarize what surveys we're creating?
Yeah, so we ended up covering that when we were going over the matrix. It's the groups that I had highlighted in the document that I shared. So one that will be available to all Virginia attorneys, one that will go to Circuit 33 attorneys specifically, one for law students, Virginia law students specifically, because those are the populations that we can easily access through our networks. Recent law school graduates, attorneys who are in lagging circuits or legal deserts, a survey to courts, specifically for the clerks or judges to fill out, and then a survey for consumers of legal services. And each one will be, you know, specifically tailored for that population. And again, the draft surveys will be shared with the full committee in advance of finalizing them, so that you all can provide individual feedback on, you know, whether anything's missing, if you'd like, if there's a way that we can ask a particular question. I think the most important thing to think about when you're analyzing, you know, what to put in the survey is what information or insights are we hoping to gather? And we don't want the surveys to be biased, the questions to be biased. So being as neutral as possible, I think, is particularly helpful.
As Chris mentioned earlier, we will circulate final drafts for comment as well. With the
David, this is Lola. I have a question. I was hoping to get some clarification, and maybe I just misunderstood or missed something in a prior meeting or conversation. But the part about how we are going to, I think, use the surveys to identify individuals that will then be speakers at the hearings. Am I summarizing that correct?
Yes. My view that as we set up the field hearings, a big question is who do we invite to speak? Of course, there are people who are already vocal in communities, local bar members, legal aid
Judges.
offices, community groups, judges who already have opinions about what kinds of problems their communities face because of the lack of adequate legal assistance. But there may be people that we're not thinking about, people who are members of the public who've been affected, small business owners, that sort of thing. And if we collect surveys from them ahead of time about what experience did they have, how did it affect them personally, their families, their businesses, that would help us identify other people that we would want to invite to testify live in the local hearings. And if they also come up with things that we are not focused on, say, not getting help for a boundary dispute, but with no impact on anyone, then maybe that's not somebody we want to invite to talk live. So it's a way of just allowing other people to say, I have a personal story, I'd like to tell it, and for us to have some idea beforehand. In addition, I think an important part of any public hearing is there are always people who are going to show up who didn't know there was an opportunity to fill out a survey ahead of time. They may have something to say, and we should take a sign-up list at the rear of room in each location for people who would like to be heard, and then that we will give them a couple minutes each to say something. I've seen our Lynchburg City Council do this many times, where they take general comments at the end of the meeting, but the comments are kept short. If the person in our city council, if someone's speaking on behalf of a group, they can have 5 minutes. If they're speaking as an individual, they can have 3 minutes. So it's kept brief, but others that we haven't heard from at all have an opportunity to be heard as well. So I foresee seeing both. So Lola, did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. I was just missing I understand. I was missing the objective of kind of having predetermined speakers to kind of get the conversation going.
Yes.
So I was thinking of it more in a traditional public hearing type of framework where whoever shows up speaks. And that could be 2 people or it could be 200 people.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I do think that it's important for us to encourage speakers that have things that are meaningful for us to hear, and for people who have other gripes, which may or may not be useful for us to know about, we sort of keep them at the end of the hearing to the extent that they want to speak.
And then, thank you for that clarification. I guess then my next question is, would it be beneficial, and Chris, maybe this was on your list, but it was too small for me to read. Would it be beneficial to have a question on the survey be, are you interested and available in coming to speak at one of our field hearings?
So I have on, for every segmented survey, I have something on there that allows them to the option to provide their name and contact information for follow-up. And we can specifically say, something about the field hearings on there. One of the critical pieces of the survey work is that it's anonymous by default, or people won't give us honest feedback, right? So this will be a question or a field that's at the very end of the survey. So they've already filled out everything anonymously. And then if they want to identify themselves, they can. The other thing is that we will develop also a speaker solicitation form or a speaker screening form that'll be separate from the survey, but we'll kind of go out when the field hearings are scheduled and announced, where people can provide more narrative information and express interest in sharing the comments that they give to us in advance at the field hearings. And those by nature will not be anonymous. But we want to be careful about making sure that the surveys are anonymous, so that we get good feedback.
Got it. May I suggest not calling it not including the word screening?
Yeah.
Because that immediately invokes, we are pre-selecting who is going to be permitted to speak. And we're not doing that. So I don't want to inadvertently create that impression.
Yes, agreed. I can't remember what it is called. There's a term of art in the market research world, and I just don't remember what it is. It might just be speaker form. I don't know.
Comment form, something like that. Yeah.
We'll get the right wording. That's great feedback.
Good. Thank you, Lola. Okay. Are we done with the surveys? Good. Okay. Thank you, Chris, for that review. Our next topic is the our field hearings, and where we're talking about for having locations for them now. And this is something we talked about with our OASIS subcommittee yesterday on legal deserts, and earlier this afternoon with the legal committee on the overall lack of new attorneys. And the locations we're discussing using holding field hearings include the Eastern Shore, Tidewater, and we had some discussion in the meeting immediately previous to this one about whether there should be sort of a Western Tidewater. I had suggested Portsmouth as a location for that, and should we have something further west, such as Emporia, something on the peninsula like Williamsburg. So Chris and I are going to do some mapping out of how we cover geographic areas. The what are called the lagging circuits that have a significant lawyer vacuum are spread across Southside Virginia very strongly, up and down Route 58. So we want to make sure that we give adequate exposure to those. So the next one going west would be in Pennsylvania. Then it's Southwest Virginia. We would be in Abingdon and some location further west as well. And we talked yesterday about a few smaller towns much further west, because they are much different from Abingdon. People out there have a different experience than the metropolitan Abingdon on 81. For lower Shenandoah and the Alleghenies, I've suggested Lexington, upper Shenandoah, Winchester, upper Piedmont, Warrenton, and upper Tidewater, Reedville, and the Access Commission. Their roadshow committee is already setting up something in Reedville, so we'll be able to piggyback onto what they're already working on. So that's a lot of hearings, and we had some discussion in the subcommittee also about do we want to explicitly keep these number of committee members there small so that we don't trigger FOIA notice requirements. My own view is that committee members who want to show up should be able to show up and ask questions. And if that requires advance FOIA implementation with notice, so be it. If it's 2 or less, then it's less formal. I think surveying members about which of the hearings they want to attend, and some of that will depend on the exact venue. Some will depend on what date and time as well. So we have to work out all those details, and we will be developing those in the coming weeks. And Sandra Gilstrap is going to work with me on all the venues. So that is where we stand on the field hearings.
And David and Chris, this is Lola again. I just emailed you some new language that the General Assembly just approved in the FOIA definition of a meeting, which includes a phrase called informational gathering, which Chris, if you want to talk to Janet about and see if the type of field hearings that we're having would kind of fall under that. I can tell you this type of hearing never came up in the FOIA Council discussions before legislation was introduced. But it could be that might be an avenue that gives us a bit more wiggle room.
Good. Thank you, Lola. That sounds
You're
helpful.
welcome.
Yes, thank you. And I may pull you into a call with Janet too, Lola.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate it.
Terrific. Okay. I think our last business item before we discuss the next meeting date is the logo. I had asked Chris or anyone else, if anyone else in the bar could develop a logo for us. I think it would be helpful as we do work that becomes more and more known in the state, that we have a consistent logo so people can identify right away if they're looking at an announcement by our committee, some sort of other information release, if we're doing a public hearing, that it's part of our brand, so people know who we are and what we're about. And the ever talented Chris has developed 2 logos. And Chris, can you show those one by one?
I'm trying to get them side by side on my screen so that y'all could see them together.
I think that the principal difference between them is going to be color. Is that right?
I mean, just a little bit different style.
Okay.
And the second one of them was developed by Karen in our communications department. Let me share. I've got them up now.
Okay, there we are. Good. The one on your left is the one that Chris developed at my request. I like it for several reasons. It's simple, it's bold, it incorporates the colors of the Virginia State Bar shield, the seal, because we are a committee of the Virginia State Bar. So those are all elements that I thought were useful. And it looks like the other version here uses the same colors, but focuses more on highlighting our name. Any comments about either of these?
I will say,
this is Solomon. Are the dots relative and true to population or some other manner, or are they just random?
Random.
They look random to me. There's a big dot in Emporia, and Emporia does not deserve any big dots.
The other thing I just wanted to mention, David, is because I'm not a marketing person or I don't have any like design background. If this is the style that the committee likes best, the entry, growth, and distribution in the big arrow, it will get punched up and cleaned up by our communications department. So just putting that out there. And there's no pride of authorship. No pride of authorship. So don't feel bad if you don't prefer mine. But yeah, I think we should vote on it.
Okay, so I just have a question. As a visual learner, and perhaps maybe I take visuals too literally, but so the arrow to me would indicate that we're pointing to something in particular. The point of the arrow, was that the intention?
It's supposed to signify movement into the state.
Okay, but not to that region of the state necessarily. Okay, so that's what I see, is that it's signaling something to that part of the map. That's just what I see.
Good feedback.
Other comments or questions?
I have a question. This is Jennifer. Is it possible to put the Virginia State Bar logo on the second one, like maybe up in the upper left-hand corner?
Yes, I think so.
Or maybe even in the center
Oh, yeah.
of the state. I don't know. Maybe you can play with it to see what it looks like.
Okay, are people ready? Are we, initial question, are we voting between two choices or three choices? I would say that the state bar seal can be moved around on either one of them. That's probably not a big deal. Somebody's speaking. Was that Solomon?
Yeah, and of course you give a lawyer two choices and they'll try to make 4 or 8 out of them. I agree with the first comment. I think on the left-hand side, the arrow visually is sending a different message that may be capable of changing that around. I agree that the one on the right, we need some more verbiage on the one on the left. If we're going to go with the one on the right, the seal, of course, would be helpful. I mean, those are just general sort of comments in terms of punching either one of these up. And so I just tossed that out there for Krista and the rest of the marketing committee to add to the ideas that the professionals will have.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, I'm going to go through our committee list so we can make, the best way I can think of is just to have a vote on this. So the vote is on the basic design, the left or the right, with the understanding that either of them can be edited with moving the seal around, moving the arrow around, that kind of thing. Are we ready to vote?
Sure.
Okay, you can vote either left or right. Those are our two choices. So I'm going to just start on the top of my sheet. David Weber.
David Weber, left, please.
Left. Okay. Solomon Ashby.
Left.
Left. Lola.
Right.
Patrick.
I'll go with right also.
Jennifer.
Right.
Dan Ortiz.
Left.
Close. It's like a horse race. Sandra.
Right.
Bruce.
I'd say left, but I think we should tilt that arrow up a little bit so it's sort of at a 45-degree angle pointing into the state.
Okay.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
We don't have Katie. Jerry.
Right.
Henry.
Left.
Goodness.
Patrick.
I already voted for right.
So we have you twice here? Oh yeah, we do have you twice. How about that? Well, you can vote. You're in Chicago if you can vote twice.
I'll just stick with the one vote.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Okay, I'm going to on the. This is what state bar staff has done so much in bar council meetings. Count individual votes.
That'd be pretty tight.
I'm counting 5 on the left.
I think you could have broken that.
5 on the left, and on the right, I'm counting 1. Five on the right.
Oh.
Yeah, that's,
I told
We are
you I could
tied.
have broken the tie.
Good,
David,
good.
you didn't vote.
I did
David
not vote.
Newmeyer.
I, as the chair, I did not vote, but clearly I need to do a tiebreaker. So I have never been a fan of polka dots, which is what the one on the right reminds me of. So I'm going to vote for the one on the left with some more.
With the
editing.
polka dots. You're voting on the
Yeah,
one.
but it's dots on the right side. They're not polka dots on the right side. They're dots on the left. But
Okay,
I understand your point.
okay. I was referring as polka dots. The one on the right looks like polka dots to me. So, yeah. That was an ambiguous statement. Okay. The one on the left is the one I prefer.
Okay, can I
So-
make one suggestion for the one on the left? As somebody who's technically colorblind, but not as colorblind as men who are colorblind are, I can't see the words inside the arrow almost at all.
Okay.
yeah, okay. We
Well,
can fix that.
Excellent
Okay.
point.
And,
Um,
and if I could make an additional suggestion for the left, it doesn't say study committee, and I think it should say study committee. Because if not, it's just entry, growth, and distribution of Virginia attorneys, and like, okay, what does that mean?
Yeah, like the wording on the right should be over on the left somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, that would be an interesting way to do it. Yes, is to move that text over to the left and greatly shrink the arrow, or even
What if you took the arrow out?
yeah.
yeah.
You drink the state.
Okay, good. Thank you all.
Star, like spread all over.
So we're going with the left. Sorry, Dave, that we're completely revising. I'm sorry.
All the people that lost, they're trying to get some influence.
Where have we seen this before?
I
Okay.
think the communication to our marketing team should be combine these.
Fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, we'll
Um,
send around the final version to everyone
More tinkering.
when it's ready.
Okay. Thank you all for that. And our last item then is setting a December meeting date. Would people prefer to do that separately on a doodle poll, or would they like to do it live right now?
The doodle poll is probably effective
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
efficient as far as I'm concerned.
I'm personally a doodle fan. Okay, we'll send out a doodle poll by email then for December.
And that one will be all virtual. So
Excellent.
just keep that in mind that you won't have to travel.
Okay.
Hey, I'm sorry. Last order of business, David Newmeyer. So as the fans understand on our team, we have these field studies that David was optimistic and thinking we're going to get these 10 field studies in across the state sometime between September and the end of the year. So I just want to remind everyone that when we have these field studies, we'd like our participants, right? Not just to think that we don't see each other until December. Is that correct?
Yeah. You're talking about the field here. I'm calling them hearings.
I'm sorry, the field hearings. That's what I meant. I study from the map, but yeah, the field
Good. And
hearings.
I was picturing them
Right.
from late August, but late August on, but finishing before Thanksgiving.
Right. So we're going to be asking our committee members to stay on the lookout for potential hearings that we'd like them to attend prior to
Yeah.
the December
We would
meeting.
love everybody to attend at least some of the field hearings.
Okay.
And I think we'll send out maybe a matrix for the field hearings once that gets developed more, and ask committee members to sign up or at least express interest in certain localities, so that then they can be contacted about availability. Right? Because I
Yeah.
think that would be helpful. And then once we kind of get down to the nitty gritty scheduling, we really need anyone who commits to a particular field hearing to make sure that they tell us for certain they can come in person, or they're interested in attending but can only do so remotely, because that'll give us a better sense of like that FOIA landscape, right? So please just be aware that that's coming, and that we really will need your feedback to do this effectively.
Yes, so everyone needs to respond quickly to the State Bar staff, as we always do.
And I will say kudos to all of you for being so engaged and for showing up to these meetings. It's been really impressive to have almost the full committee at all of our meetings so far.
I agree. Okay. Thank you all. Looking forward to our further conversations.
All right.
And adjourned. Thank you.